Welcome back to the 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about sameness. I want to start in the area of black culture. There was a discussion recently about a famous black actor and how he's dating these white women. So part of the reason you see that in Hollywood a lot is because when you go out west, for those of you who have never been to California, when you go to California, when you go to Los Angeles in particular, black people are concentrated in one general area. You'll see black people, sprinkled like raisins throughout the city.
There's pockets.
But you have black people concentrated in one particular area, or like certain areas on a certain side of town, right? And when you are a entertainer, when you're somebody who's wealthy, you're out there in the land of fantasy, and you're going through all these, you're insulated. You're living in an insulated world, and you're away from people who speak to you in a real way. Because if you're successful there, everybody is telling you things to just puff up your ego. A lot of these people that are running the entertainment industry are white or they're Jewish. And you're around a lot of white people out there, so that when you do come across other black people that are on your level or that are on a similar level regarding income, I don't see in large numbers these successful black people dating each other. Not there. See, it's funny because when you come to the East Coast, or you're in Atlanta, or you're in Miami, you see black successful people together.
More choices.
Part of the reason you see less of that in California is because the further past the Midwest you travel, the fewer and fewer black people you see. You get to Colorado and you see it right away, like, man, where the sisters at? And then
it's a wasteland.
Okay, you may not even be into black women. You were like, all right, where the Latinas at? There's a good amount of Latinas in like Denver and in Colorado. There's a whole lot of white people. You know what I'm saying? Say you might even be into Asian women. You're like, yo, where the Asian women at? Nope, not in Colorado. So then you're going to push on and you go to the West Coast. Now, if you're into Asians, you're going to see a whole lot of Asians up in the Northwest, in the Seattle PDX area. Ton of them, no problem. But if you go down to California, to Southern California, fewer black people.
They stick with themselves, though, also.
When slavery ended in the United States, all these black people began to travel west. And we've talked about on this show many times how there were black people that went to participate in the land grab in Oklahoma.
Yep.
And they became successful landowners and business owners in the Midwest. Forget about up north. We know about the Northeast and up north. We know about that. But we're talking about the lesser known stories of the black people who traveled west. And we talked about how there were black towns in Nebraska and Wyoming and Kansas that were eliminated through real racism and oppression. Okay?
I think also the memory of them was wiped away. That's what's made me more frustrated.
Correct. So then these black people who did make it all the way out to California before World War I and World War II, there were black towns in California. There are black people who are in mining towns out there. But these are smaller numbers, right? Because when you go to the South, you see a huge concentration of black people because a lot of black people stayed in the South. Or black people who had moved to the North, their children moved back to the South. So black people return to our point of origin in this country, right? And a lot of black people stayed here, developed this area to create a lasting legacy of black wealth and community here. But then that exists to a lesser degree in California in particular.
I was just going to talk about that beach that went back to the black folks. There was a beach that was stolen from black people, like literally stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And they just
had
a
part of Manhattan Beach.
And like I said, in Cali, and these people got their beach back. It's worth like 500. I don't want to exaggerate, so look it up, because I think it was worth 50 million, 120 million, some crazy number like that. So to get their beach back, they were the original owners. And what nobody wants to understand, this is the conversation that we have a lot of times on this podcast, is that black folks had owned it before white folks owned it, or before these so-called Native Americans got here, and we talk about a lot of black folks are Native American, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that what my brother is trying to tell you is that sometimes it's hard to find a successful sister out there, or when you're looking for love, or you're looking for companionship, or you're looking for sex, or you're looking for whatever
Or
that
if you looking for her, she ain't looking for
for
you
you. Yeah,
because going back to the original topic or
sameness.
starting point of this conversation of sameness, there are people who come from a background of struggle, and once they have made it, quote unquote, they don't want to be reminded of where they come from.
Okay, the sister's podcast, and she's like, "Hey, I saw this guy, and I had a feeling that he was the white." And she says, so she's checking him Instagram, checking him over here, and he finds out that he was dating a white chick, yada yada yada. But then she's like, "I can't stand it. I don't want to see it." And all these women are co-signing with her. But then she goes, "But I don't mind when I see a black sister with a white man." They're like, "You're super toxic," and they go from there. But the point
Okay,
she's
but what that is right there
I'm going.
is that it's complex because women will discourage other women. They'll hate on other women. They'll judge other women. See, that's like a win to them, right? Hold on.
Finish
So
your thought.
getting a white person
Finish
is
your
like
thought.
is a win to them because they feel like now, oh, I've moved up in society. But on the other hand, then they'll be angry when a black man does it because it's a feeling of betrayal, and the direct cause of that, or the direct reason behind that, is because they see that man as a possible suitor. It's like, why didn't you choose me? You choose
Yeah,
her.
it's one of these complicated conversations where you got to have the whole conversation, and you also got to address the individuality of the person and their experience. See, when you're a man and you become successful, the first thing you think is, how do I make a family? How do I take care of somebody? But when you're a black woman and you become successful, first thing you think is, I don't need a man. This is a mindset that's been pushed on our women, and
Because it's the idea of, I want to be free of anybody trying to be my dad, or anybody trying to
it's
control me, or anybody trying to tell me that I'm a boss now, I'm a boss this and that, I can do what I want to do.
See, and the whole thing is, I get it, but this is a conversation that when you have these conversations, a lot of black women weren't oppressed. You were where you wanted to be. I saw this one podcast where they were talking about who's that pretty little gymnast that was messing with a football player. I want to say, oh God, I can't think who it is. The black lady. And so he said, yes, this is the most successful thing because the guy she was dating, they're getting married. And this woman was like, well, you got 3 or 4 gold medals. And I'm like, how can you tell her how to be successful when she's more successful than you? What she's saying is that I've worked this hard. Now I'm ready to settle down and have that family life that I sacrificed.
Dude, how many small towns in Nebraska have you been to, and it's a gang of mixed kids? There was some athlete, a bunch of black athletes, went to the local university,
Went to school out there,
and it was just shooting fish in a barrel with just white bitches everywhere. And the white bitches just wanted some of that, you know what I'm saying? Because it was so different than the sameness that they were used to. So
okay.
they probably had these fantasies about being with a black dude, and now they can live out those fantasies. This is an old trope. So
well,
hold
see a lot going towards Chicago.
Hold it. No, you don't. No. You see this everywhere. There was a town. I was driving. I was working in a town. I think it was in the mountains of Virginia. Yes, I was in Virginia, and we had stopped. To get a hotel. Because it was a long journey, so we stopped. And dude, when we pulled into the hotel, me and my coworker, another
none
brother.
of the Grabies.
Listen. It was this big clan of like mixed chicks in the parking lot. They were not attractive either. They were this big clan of like mixed black women in the parking lot. And then I guess they knew the person that was running the hotel, because then there was a bunch of mixed women running the hotel, and they were all related. And I'm like, oh, I see what happened. Y'all townies. And some brothers ran through here on some Hannibal shit and fucking laid it down and left. And
Conquest.
because there was no father in sight. There was I could tell there had been no father around for a minute. And I'm like, listen, I can read terrain. I can read people. I can spot these things.
There's no males.
I could spot the way the little boys were behaving and the children were behaving. There's no father around. I'm like, oh, okay.
Do you remember the cartoon where it was City Wolf, Country Wolf, and you remember how the country dude went to the city and went nuts over the fine woman,
Yeah.
But then the city wolf went to the country and went nuts over the redneck chick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, that's one of them deals right there. Like, motherfucker, it's something different. Look,
But see, that's what I'm talking about. They don't want sameness. They want something different. And so, going back to the origin of this conversation, these successful actors and entertainers, look at all the Kardashians got black men. So all those black men basically reached over a black woman to tap them on the shoulder. Can you get her for me? Like, hey sister,
it,
can you get that white woman for me?
like you laughing, but you know that's how the shit went down. Like,
Yes.
hey,
Because see what it is, these dudes think that, these white
they made it.
women, no, they don't think that these white women are going to do them the
Oh,
way that they think a black woman is going to do them. And I emphasize the way they think. The way they think a black woman is going to do them. When it come to find out, they get done the same
done
way
worse.
because people are
No,
people.
no. They get done way worse because black women don't take you for everything you own. I'm gonna give you an example that nobody's gonna like, but the example of OJ, his first wife. His first wife, they have a couple kids together. They get
All he
divorced.
messing with white women.
No. That's stop. His first wife was black. We ain't going there. Have the whole conversation. His first wife was black. So he marries her, right out college, high school, whatever. They've been together for years. Everything is cool. He decides that I've outgrown you or whatever. Divorces his black wife, gets with his white wife. Now, when all this stuff came out and Nicole Brown Simpson dies and he's abusive, he's this. His first wife comes out and says, that man never abused me. He never yelled at me. He never beat me. He takes great care of our kids. You don't hear that narrative. Now, the point I'm making is that everybody has an individual experience. Now let's give an example of Serena Williams. People really don't harp on her much for marrying a white dude, and what's the reason for that? Because she was done wrong by black dudes. Common dissed her, Drake dissed her, some other black dude dissed her. Now all these people are dissing her. Oh, she's immature. She's this. She's all these different things. And I'm like, see, so she had no choice. I want to settle down and have a real family. She chose a motherfucker that was willing to do that. Now, do I want her with a white man? No. Do I care that she's with a white man? Nah. But the problem is that her individual experience.
Hold on a second. Let's talk about something real quick because I was pondering this the last couple of days. Why is it you don't want her with a white man?
Me? Are you posing that question?
Hey. Me and you are talking. I'm not talking to the earth right now. I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Well, why would I not want her with a white man? Because she's super rich, and then when everything is said and done, the mixed babies will end up with them kids with that money, and that white man is probably not going to appreciate her. But that's my opinion because obviously she's been with that dude for a minute. They got 2 daughters together, I think, and she's living happily ever after. She deserves to live happily ever after. My biggest issue with it, my personal issue, is you wouldn't be where you were if it wasn't for a black man. Your fucking stubborn ass daddy is the reason you're there, and you didn't marry a black man. Now, could you not find a suitable black man? That's where the shit comes in.
See, this is a complex question because
yes.
we don't know. We only know these people from the outside, and we can only
speculate,
make the judgment calls based on their actions. So this is what I want to talk about. Hold on.
But you asked me why it bugs me because the success that her and her sister have are because of a black man, her father, and he would not relinquish them to white people. He raised her and her sister the way he wanted.
But check this out. Here's the thing, though. We want the black race to continue to exist, to continue to exist, but to also move up out of this station in American history that is not good enough. That is a second class situation. Now, the problem with this perception is that we, black people, place our value on wealthy people that are in the media.
Ooh.
So
this
started to happen in the 1970s. Not so much in the 60s, but in the 70s. And here's why. When Dr. King died and the Panthers were eliminated, then the Black Power movement lost its steam. And people became disassociated with the progression of black people in a political sense, and that
Yes.
energy shifted into a pop culture entertainment sense. We
What
became
they
satisfied.
get
Let me finish,
jobs.
dog.
Yeah.
They became satisfied with seeing
Mediocrity.
faces on TV that remind them of themselves. And
Mm.
so that value that was in the progression of civil rights and the rights of blacks to become, fully equal citizens in this country, then that was like transmuted and transposed into pop culture. So it's okay now that Shaft is in a movie and he's killing white motherfuckers. Or
Yep.
it's okay that Jim Brown can run a football and run white motherfuckers over and, win Super Bowls and shit. All that's great. Now we're doing okay. Are we? No. We are accepting that as progress.
Because we see ourselves on television.
While the real struggle, COINTELPRO, is still being a war that's waged, on black people behind the scenes. And so there was less pressure on these government agencies to surveil us, to exploit us, to bring crack cocaine, or to bring cocaine, which then was made into crack cocaine, into South Central Los Angeles, into Mena, Arkansas, into Omaha, Nebraska, into New York City,
Little
into
Rock.
all these places where black people lived, and destroy the black family. The crazy thing is, there was a war that was being waged to destroy the black family, and nothing was being done. There were no vocal proponents against this. We were actually satisfied with the pacification that they gave us through Jesse Jackson and
Hold
Al
on.
Sharpton. No. I'm making a point.
No, no,
No,
no, no.
just
Really.
hold on. So the thing is that with Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, it's like, oh, we got these figureheads that are still fighting
Yes.
for us. No, those boule motherfuckers were paid and allowed to actually just say just enough. Oh, we're going to let Jesse Jackson run for president in 1984, but we know that nigga ain't going to win.
Yeah.
But all these things were happening because it was being done to pacify us and give us just enough. And it's like, oh, well, now we got Michael Jordan in 1984, and this guy's a real badass. And oh yeah, he's gonna be somebody, and this and that. And now we got, we got Sugar Ray Leonard, and we got, we got all these entertainers. Those are entertainers. Those guys, those after Muhammad Ali was the
Was it? Yeah.
last
Yep.
activist athlete. He was this whole Kaepernick bullshit. That was a corporate psyop that was created by fucking Nike. You gotta understand that nobody is out there fighting for us, and we have to fight for ourselves. Therefore, do not get angry at black celebrities dating white people, because those people are not responsible for our well-being. Those people are working a job. That motherfucker that's on screen, Jonathan Majors, who is in what's the name country? What's the name of that country?
Sweden. He was over in
No,
Sweden.
no. It was a TV show. It was called something country. Anyway, it was like this supernatural TV show that was on HBO.
Oh yeah. Oh damn. Why would you do that to me? Because when you
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, he was in this occult TV show about how
Witchcraft Country.
yeah,
Lovecraft
Country.
Lovecraft.
And he was in this TV show about this white man who wanted to exploit him because the white man believed he was the offspring of Adam, and this African man, this black dude, was one of the descendants.
He was the only one left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was the only one left. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a good show. I hate to tell you, I didn't watch the show at first. When I watched
They didn't want to renew it because it just went too hard. The show went too fucking hard. But the crazy part about it is it wasn't a show created by black people, which is, there you go again, somebody else telling our story. But I digress, because that's us wanting
desiring.
we're wanting justice through entertainment, and it doesn't happen like that. So, but see, justice through entertainment is also people getting mad at black celebrities dating white people. Listen, let those people date who they want to date. This is the reason why. Like that shit, you shouldn't get angry at stuff like that because those people are not the ones determining the history or the outcome of the black race. Okay?
Roscoe. Look, the problem is when you grow up on Ali and you grow up on the Black Dudes at the Olympics, Geronimo and all them cats. When you grew up on them cats, you think that every athlete is like that. When you grow up on Lou Alcindor becoming Cream, when you grow up on dude from the Celtics, when you grow up on that, you think all athletes are like that. Those guys were intelligent and enlightened. Those guys sat down and had a meeting,
And there's a lot
and
of dumbass fucking athletes, man. Like, dude,
now,
if
yeah.
listen, man, and then, like, dude, if you could talk to some of these dudes that play in the NFL, they are children mentally. Like, they are functioning children. Like, there was this, I think, a hot mic in, like, I think Aaron Rodgers said, like, I work with children. That's because these motherfuckers are stupid. They're athletes, dude. They're
Oh,
not. They're
that was not
not
race. That had
rocket.
nothing to do
Has
with
nothing to do
race.
with race. But these
Yeah.
motherfuckers are not STEM students. You know what I'm saying? They're not fucking. They're
Hold
not.
on, Roscoe.
They're not. Hold on. They're not winning the Scholastic Decathlon. You know what I mean? These motherfuckers are not mental giants.
Oh
They
no.
run footballs. They shoot basketballs. Like when you speak to these cats, you can tell there's some intelligence there, but they're not the people that are going to talk about, well, why was the lab in this country used to create a biological weapon? They won't know. They don't know. They don't know what retrotransposons are. They don't know what bilocation of the hippocampus means. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand what compartmentalization MK Ultra is unless they go and research some things themselves. Their job is to play sports.
The problem is because these boule motherfuckers. Hold on, dude. You don't talk for 20 minutes, so let's go. Let's back it up. One of the things you talked about very early on was benign neglect. So I need my people to understand what benign neglect is. Benign neglect was created by Senator Moynihan, I think, in the late '70s, early '80s, when they asked the senator, how do we help these black folks? And he said, look, we after the Black Power struggle, after the Civil Rights movement, he said we never address their issues again. We'll talk about them, but we never actually do anything about it. That's called benign neglect, and you see that benign neglect everywhere. You don't have athletes like Ali anymore. You don't have people like that, and they literally handpick these people and bring them forward. They pick your celebrities for you. They do that on purpose. The reason Jay-Z is successful is not because he's actually talented. Tell me, what year was Jay-Z the number one rapper? And you'll realize he was never the number one rapper, and he's never been. But it's because he was willing to do stuff politically and business-wise that other people weren't willing to do. Um, Back to the part about dating white and not dating white. The only reason it bugs me about Serena is because who her father was. They're successful because of their father. Now, when you look at it, there was some white billionaire offered LeBron James and Serena Williams $1 billion to have a kid together just to make them super athlete.
You
That's
know
a
what that is though? That's some slave breeder
yes,
bullshit.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's what nobody wants to understand. White folks had eugenics. They're like, look, if we do this, this, and this, but eugenics was them actually
Dude,
trying to.
hold on a second. Follow that thought. Because that billionaire, if he pays these, say he gives each of these black people $1 billion each, right?
Hmm.
Or 500 million each.
Hmm.
What do you think he's going to do with the offspring? He's going to lay claim to
He
that
wants to
offspring
own it.
because that's his investment.
Yes. Yeah,
And if he doesn't do it above the board, he's going to get blood from those two people, and he's going to make a clone, and he's going to make
or
super.
something,
Hold on.
some
He's
extra
going to
shit.
make super soldiers from their DNA and sell it to the military.
So, here's what people don't understand about the Germans, and this is what's going to piss you off about the Germans. Yes, they were eugenicists, and they were all these different things, but natural selection created what they wanted already in black folks, and nobody wants to admit that. See, when you create a situation where people have to struggle and fight through shit, you actually make people stronger. Right now, what's killing us is the fact that we have a conscience and we want to help everybody. Which, don't get me wrong, the people sometimes do need help, but those difficult situations, the people that find their way out of it physically and mentally are superior. You created slavery, so you actually created what you wanted. Excuse me. There's a white comedian that said that shit in a joke, The guy who used to do the Daily Show, he said, "Hey, funny thing is, Germans wanted the master race, or white folks wanted the master race. Well, you created it when you created slavery. Like the people that you treat like shit have far surpassed you physically and mentally, and they talk about that shit. Look, when you talk about this sameness, we're talking about we want the same results that we got in the past. And that's what we're looking for. We want these athletes to be great like Ali. We want that. But we don't have that. We have a whole different sect of people. And when they speak up, it's only because they want to. Now look, right now, there's a whole thing about Kanye West being anti-Semitic. That's bullshit. The man's not being anti-Semitic. And if you don't understand what he's doing, he told y'all last month he wanted out of all his contracts. He's telling you that. So what do you do? Like, hey, let me have my contract? No. If he leaves his contract, he leaves money on the table. But guess what? If I say that Jews run the world...
Okay, stop right here. This is where I got to stop you. And here's why. This is where he fucked up. He did not delineate. He did not speak to the group that is hiding within the Jewish culture. He is actually speaking about a group within the Jews that has been hiding there since the days of Babylon. They're called the Khazarians. Now, either he didn't know, or he was just being like too emotionally reckless. But
No.
Wait. So he didn't know. He didn't know how to speak. See, when you're speaking at that level and you have that ability and your audience is that large, you have to narrow that beam to your target exactly who you're talking to, because either he did know and he didn't have the balls, or he did not know. But the group that he is speaking about is not the Jews. The problem is the Jews get the blame for this group that is hiding amongst them. And this group is the Khazarians. We have talked about the Khazarians on this show, so go and listen to past episodes. The Khazarians infiltrated Babylonian society from the southern entrance that was not guarded, and they entered and they began to spread their dark arts by absorbing the political and power classes of the Babylonian Empire, and they then spread into the Caucasian empires that were north of there, all right, and they went into Russia. The Khazarians are the ones, they're the power that created the Rothschilds, okay?
Yep.
The Khazarians are the ones that control the media. Now, some of these people actually happen to be Jewish, but to just say that it's the Jews is incorrect.
No, what you got to understand, what was his goal? His goal wasn't to enlighten black folks. He's been doing that. His goal was to get out of his contracts with Adidas, with Gap, and all these other people. See, if you leave a contract and you leave money on the table...
You really think that dude's enlightening? I've never considered him enlightening ever. You got, bro. You got to remember who the fuck you talking to right now, man. Like, that guy has never been enlightening at all. Now, he's entertaining. He makes entertaining music, but nothing in any of his fucking albums compares to anything that's been dropped by Paris, Public Enemy, X-Clan. There's no comparison. What the fuck are you talking about, enlightening?
Okay. So it's real simple. At some point in time, he made a conscious decision that I'm going to be rich. And he did that. Now that he's rich, he wants to sever ties with the white people that he fucks with. So if you have a contract on the table and you leave, you'll be penalized. But what happens if you offend the person that you have a contract with and they no longer want to do business with you? You keep your money. What he did was he offended a bunch of white folks just to keep his money. All this stuff is a power play. Now he's still a billionaire. But if he had removed his contract, say he left his contract with Adidas, even a minute, hey, we own the rights to the shoes, but we're still selling Kanye shoes, even though he said this Jewish shit. If you were so mad, wouldn't you just burn that shit and throw it away? No. They're still making money for Kanye. What he did was he found a way to get out of his contract. That's all. These contracts have clauses. And as for enlightening, he has said some shit. Now, as for his work, he's been preaching this shit for a minute. People just don't realize what he was saying. He was telling people, like, hey, this Prince shit is real. You are a slave. He's telling people that shit. Now, do I like it? Do I still like his music? Yes, okay, whatever. But the bottom line is, yeah, he was letting people know some shit, and people just don't realize it. Now, Is he the best at this? No. Is he emotional? Is he a bitch? Look, pay attention. He does a lot of bitch shit. Like, why is my
But
ex-wife?
hold on, man, hold on. You're saying you going back to this enlightening bullshit. The shit he's talking is basic. That's not enlightening, dude. This is
Okay,
not new shit he's saying.
okay. Check out when he was at that preacher Joe Osteen. He said some real dope shit. He said, "Look, we're all born with superpowers, but we're subjected to some subliminal shit early on in life that fucks us up. And if you pay attention, that was some deep shit. What he's telling you is that me and you are dope to begin with, but
No,
we're
no, 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 no,
brainwashed."
no, 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 no. No. In his music, he doesn't talk about that shit. This is what I'm saying to you. In the way he makes his money is not by enlightening people. He makes his money be through entertaining people. And even in his entertainment, it's not enlightening. It's just inner fucking tainment, dude.
No, he
And
he
then
makes
this motherfucker talk about listen, this motherfucker's talking about gold digger in his fucking records, and he dating white bitches.
look. What you need to understand something is he didn't make his money from his music. He makes a little bit of money from his
I just think you
production.
got a weak ass argument when you try and tell me this dude is enlightening. Just move on to the next thing because we clearly disagree on this bullshit, man.
Look, all I'm simply saying is that dude, he's trying to beat the system. That's all he's doing, and we're part of the system that he's beating. You know how I felt about the dude when he did a video years ago where he had the black folks sitting at the table and the white folks serving them. I'm like, I'm telling you, he sold his soul that day. If you pay attention, we're in agreement on certain shit. I'm just not. This ain't the podcast for it. We'll talk about it later. The point I'm making is that people are saying this guy is crazy. He's this. He's not. What he's doing is he's getting out of contracts and he's using us in the same process. The same shit he's saying is you got motherfuckers criticizing like Charlemagne and all these other people. They said the exact same shit. How come it was okay for Charlemagne to say the shit, but it's not okay? Yeah, it's a hustle. That's all it is. This is all a hustle. These are all rich folks. I don't feel sorry for none of these motherfuckers, number one. Now, back to what we were originally talking about, sameness. How come one person can say some shit and something happens, and another person can say the same shit and something happens? It's real simple, because Charlemagne ain't rich and he ain't no threat. Kanye's a threat. He makes money. He's a threat to white folks and their money. He's not a threat to us. Now, something deep that me and you talked about the other day is that one of the things that they've done to control black folks is eliminate our history. And me and you had a real deep conversation about they're doing that shit to white folks right now, and white folks don't see it coming. Um, you were telling me about how there's a big genealogy department at one of these libraries, and that library is currently being closed. And I was like, I didn't know that.
The
I feel like
biggest, one of the
yeah,
biggest in the Midwest.
Midwest, it was huge, and you taught me that shit. But when you said it, the reason it bugged me is I'm like, they're doing to white folks what they did to black folks. You got
They
black
just
folks.
practice it on black people first.
Yes, they hone their skills with
Listen,
us.
the black race is just a sparring partner for true evil. That's it.
No, that's so sick, but it's true because like that's kind of we ain't got no power. This that he's saying is that if you do shit to black folks, you get away with it. Look, these contracts, all that shit. That's one of the things we're talking. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the bottom line: I got black folks who don't know that they were already over here. That black folks were already on this continent before slavery. You got black people that really talk about slavery like it helped them or some goofy shit. Um, when you talk about these black towns, we had a podcast. We literally talked about how many black towns there were here pre World War One and Two. And when I say here, I mean America. We also talk about black folks like you talk about the Geechee Gullah people in South Carolina, but the Gullah people came from Georgia. We talked about this shit. The reason that's so important is because we were already over here. So why did they have to erase our history? Because they erased our claim to this land. They did that on purpose. They were fucking with us. Now we believe their lies. Well, they're doing that shit to white folks right now. If they sit here and erase all these motherfucking genealogy departments and all these, because they got books going back generations. So if you was a white person and you knew your name and you knew the area where your people landed, they could tell you where your mother came from, your grandmother came from, your great grandfathers, all 16 of you could find that shit by eliminating those records. And all of a sudden, all you got now is what 23andMe. All you got is a damn DNA test. They fucking with white folks the same way they fuck with black folks. We will erase your history and write a new one. And that's what they're doing. And when you fall for that shit, you lose what the true power that you have. And they're doing that shit right to white folks in front of their face. And I can't get them to understand, like, hey man, why would you tear down something like that? Why would you eliminate those records? Because that's where your power is. If I erase your history, I can give you a new history. Whatever history I want to give you, I can give it to you. I could tell you that you're meant to be a slave. I could tell you that you're nothing. I could tell you that, hey, your parents, and so that this is the hustle that's about to happen right now. And white folks, I'm trying to tell y'all, I know we don't have many white listeners, but listen up, pay attention, keep your history, because that's how the power structure manipulated my people, by erasing our history.
Dude, when you called me and you told me that the main library was being torn down, I ain't gonna bullshit, man. That shit fucking hurt. That
No, it was a
shit
part.
hurt me because it was a very important part of my development. So I would go to this library alone, and this library was downtown. We didn't live downtown, so I would journey down there by myself. And I would go down to the library, and I would learn things. I would discover new things. I could. What I would do before the internet, they had telephone books from all the major
Always.
cities
Yep.
and all the states. They had telephone books from every state, right? And so if I wanted to learn something or talk to some people in a different state that were selling something or had some information I was looking for, I could pick up the phone and I could call Los Angeles. I could call New York. I could call Wisconsin, Seattle, wherever, right? And
It's before the internet.
the funny thing is, I thought I was like the only person doing this. So when I got this job in the early days of the internet at this company that was helping hospitals get all their records online, the IT department, I would be in there and I would hear these phone calls that would come in, and I would answer the phone sometimes, and it would be a little kid, the age that I was. This must have been like 9 or 8 or 9, 10 sometimes. Would call the IT department and just ask questions. Just want to talk to one of the system engineers and ask them questions. And these kids would just call and just ask questions. I thought it was so funny because I'm like, I used to do the same fucking
It was
thing.
brilliant. It was actually beautiful. That's what it was. It
What
was
it was?
actually
No, no, no. What this was the earliest podcast. But it was a podcast with no audience because you call and can I speak to Mr. Such and such and such? And they're like, sure, hang on. Hello, this is Frank Johnson. And it's like, sir, when you made the weapons for this movie, how did you do that? And what was the steel made of? And you would hear the guy. He would take a deep breath and be like, okay, young man, this is how I did it. And he would start to tell you how he did this shit. And it was the coolest thing because you got to understand these are things you
it was
can't
pure.
look up
It's
in a
pure.
book. It's pure. It was a child asking a grown up, how does this work? And most of the time, you would get a grown up that was patient enough that would explain this to you. And so when I got older and the internet was created and I didn't have to do that anymore. And so, but I still appreciate, going and digging up information in this sanctuary because that place was a sanctuary. And the whole thing behind it really pissed me off when I found out the city actually gave it away. The city gave the building away to a corporation, right? I guess as a tax write-off, and then this corporation now wants to is going to demolish it to build a mall there. And I'm like, this is bullshit, man, because this is a repository of culture and history
Learning.
and education and all these
This and that.
things that make society, that make Nebraskans better, that make Omaha people from Omahans better, that make us more intelligent, that make us more inquisitive, that make us it sounds corny, but it's just like this Star Trek type of mentality, you know what I mean? To boldly go and to become a better human, to become a better sentient being, so that when you take this away and you replace that with something that is that is based on the free market. I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
this is fucking horseshit, man. Like,
Man,
you
listen to
are
what you're saying.
dooming these future generations that live in this city, man. Like, you
You
clearly
literally
don't get what this is class warfare. That
you
you
literally removed
want your
from
prep school kids to have an edge on city kids. I am a city kid. Duct Tape is a city kid. So we are the public. We're the product of a public school system, education. Okay, but not only but we got a damn good public school education. But also we had the resources there that we could utilize whenever we wanted, and that library is the prime example of that. So what they're doing now is they demolish this library. They're making a smaller one, like a side piece library, like 3 or 4 streets over, and then the main branch is going to be further north, away from the hood, away from black communities on 72nd and Dodge, right? And it's right there, like in the middle of everything, all these shopping centers, where it gets no attention, where you don't
look.
think to go there.
It's terrible. Look, when we were
I'm
kids,
I'm I'm so pissed off about this.
I know, I know. Look, when we were kids, your dad was a pain in the butt. My mom was the same way. They always made us look shit up, and that was one of the things
But
that
I'm so glad that they did that, because
oh, I hated it
that
at the
is
time.
why this show exists
Yeah, you
today.
hated it at the time. It's like, oh, what if? But the thing was also when we were in grade school, we had this thing called library class. It was freaking awesome, and you learn how to find information. You learn that this is before the internet. You learned that you were responsible for finding what you were looking for. And that's what that class was for, to teach you the Dewey Decimal System, how to find something in the library, what this section, what this does. And you learn that shit. Now,
Which is crazy, man, because like once I learned how a library works in
yeah,
elementary school, I'm like,
that's my first job was in
oh,
the library.
because
Yeah.
but check this out. So okay, see, you know what I'm talking about. So the thing is that there's certain moments, there are certain pivot points in my educational timeline
Yeah.
where the light bulb went off, and like where I'm like, it was like this corridor in the universe opened, is like ooh, wow, ooh, and then I fucking like I hit the warp speed and I went through that corridor. One of them was learning how a library works. The second was in 10th grade in high school when I learned, I took a word study class and etymology, how words are formed in English. Dude, that was another warp speed. That was another evolutionary jump in my intelligence right there.
Look. Um, you see, you notice there's certain words I don't like using because of their etymology. And when you try to tell people that shit, they think you're being a dick. I'm like, nah, man, that word doesn't mean what you think it means. In like, if I use that word, then I'm submitting to some shit that I don't agree with. Man, so much shit. Look. The reason you have this podcast, the reason we have this is because these conversations were private conversations, but they're not private knowledge. This is some shit that people need to recognize, that library is being physically done away with and replaced by a shopping mall. Do you know how big an insult that is? Do you understand that your ability, see, the education system is not about educating people. And Henry Ford and J.P. Morgan didn't want an education system. They wanted good workers. So they give us these little jewels here and there that can actually give you the ability to escape this shit. And once you realize, like, oh, I can escape this, you're not a good worker anymore. It's my job to we're all born dumb and broke. It's only your fault if you stay that way.
But check this out. Let me ask you a question. There used to be a sign at the border of Iowa going into Nebraska, and you would cross over the river coming from Council Bluffs into Omaha, and it says, "Welcome to Nebraska, the good life." Is it still there?
I don't know, because they just tore that street. They're actually redoing the interstate right now. The sign, I know, on the main road, it was there.
Okay.
But
the reason why I bring that up is because that's not just a slogan. It's real. Despite the fact that, there were 89 to 91, it was the most dangerous city in America on the FBI's list. Despite gangs and crack cocaine and all that stuff, it really is the good life, man. And it's because of things that we're talking about. And number one is the education system. It was so good. It was so good coming up as a kid that the the things that the education system there was so good that we were ranked in I think the top 20 or no, a top 10 in the United States, and this was a public school system, which completely just drop kicks all these prep schools that thought they could fuck around. That you were going up against kids that ate school lunches, and they were just beating your ass in these scholastic fucking competitions.
It drives you crazy because that shit ain't like that no more. Like, here's the point my brother's trying to make to y'all. Excuse me. We're so smart. When people ask you, where'd you learn that? They assume you learned it in college. Like, no, we learned that shit in grade school. No, we learned that shit in junior high. Like, we learned that shit in high school. Like, when people say,
and then when I came to the South, man, and I saw how stupid motherfuckers were, and I'm not talking about a stereotype. I'm talking about how basic the education system level was. And I'm like, oh no, these kids are in trouble down here, dude. Like this.
Hey, so when you was in college, one of the things that I noticed was that the East Coast motherfuckers knew history and reading. The West Coast motherfuckers was good in math. And it just drove me. Here's what drove me was I'm from the Midwest, but I'm not talking about Chicago, even about Omaha. And I'm like,
but see, we had both.
Yeah, that's
there was no like, okay, y'all get Paraguay and y'all get Brazil. No.
No, yeah, we didn't focus on one. We
you had to be a triple threat.
Yeah, you had to know you had to know that shit. And so in the South, I can't the kids in the South, I can't remember what they was good at. But I'm just talking about when I got to college and you're around people from everywhere. The dudes from Chicago was all about this gang life, and it was really frustrating.
Dude, there's like a very prestigious writing school at a university in Iowa. In Iowa, of all places. Yeah. And this is like one of the top writing schools in the world. It's in Iowa.
Here's what I would say. I think the kids from down south, they knew Black history better than most. I think that's what they had. And I'm just going by, how the country was broken up when you start meeting people from other places. Like I traveled, so I met people. But it's different when you get to college, and because you're there for learning, and you'll see that, okay, these motherfuckers from the West Coast, good in math, but that was it. They didn't understand. Like when you don't laugh when you had Black kids that were gang members from LA. I got these real niggas from these gang members did not know that Egyptians were Black. And when I say that shit, I'm like, dude was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, Egyptians were Black. Pause. Yeah, the pyramids were built by Black people. They had no clue. And they were pro-Black as hell. They had, because you got...
but they're concentrated on West Africa.
Man, good Lord. See, this, my brother just got deep on y'all. But, and that's very true. So you had niggas wearing dashikis and shit, but they didn't understand that Africa was all Black, and we all, language and all that shit. Then you got the dudes from the East Coast. They understood history a lot more. They knew a lot more about history. But they didn't. It sounds dumb, but they didn't get the math. They didn't get certain shit. And you would meet these Black folks from the East Coast that were Native American. Like, hey, nah, man, my family been there for years. We were there before the projects. And you're like, oh, what the hell is this shit? Or you meet the cats from down south, and they were like, yeah, they knew about King. It was just the point I'm making is that our education is so fragmented on purpose. Because if you make a well-rounded Black person like me and my brother, then people are afraid of us. It's like, oh, you understand this, you understand that. Now, like, you see my brother, he holds me account. Like, you said Kanye's enlightening. But look, let me explain something about the Kanye thing. He's not enlightening to us because we were already smart to begin with. But the masses are dumb as fuck. And he's bringing them.
But this is my thing. Don't hand me a Happy Meal and be like, there's a porterhouse steak in there.
You say, oh, dude,
fuck out of here, man.
He just said, what my brother's telling you is, you're giving me a Happy Meal, but you saying that this motherfucker is a fucking gourmet meal. To a motherfucker that's starving, it is a gourmet meal. The masses are not intelligent on purpose. And when you realize the education system is to make workers, it's not to make people to rival the elite. That's what this is about. And that's everything we're talking about. So hold on, let's go back to like some things we talked about earlier. We're talking about, like, you had these Black girls that were mad that a Black man's with a white woman, but cheered the Black woman with the white man. Like, yeah, you go, girl. It's because that's how their mind works. That, have you ever dated somebody and, like, literally they don't give, their life was shit when you got with them. Now all of a sudden their life is looking a lot better. And all of a sudden, like, literally, y'all are breaking up. So she's dating another dude. I'm like, go ahead, move on. And so she's telling them that I'm independent. I earned everything I got. I did all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. So I removed myself from the situation. Next thing you know, that dude don't want her no more. Why is that? Because she wasn't that independent. Her success
Because
was
she could
based on her
not keep that
maintain.
act going. She could
She,
not
she
maintain
couldn't
the
maintain.
facade
It was
because her material was not original.
yes.
It was not. She didn't write that bit. Okay.
Nope, nope. And what happened was that she inherited shit from our relationship and tried to use it in another relationship. Then she realized, oh damn. Then she runs back. Oh, I love you. Like, wait, whoa, I've moved on already. I don't care if you love me. You should have loved me when you had me. Now you're on your third baby daddy, wishing you could get at me. You know what I'm saying? What it is, what people don't want to understand is that they don't realize success doesn't happen in a vacuum. Many times success is because of the people around you. Now, sometimes you can be short-sighted, like me and you, we're stubborn. Once we focus on a goal, we're going to get that goal, whether people are, but there's other people who were not successful when you got there, and they don't realize that their success is an attribute because they have you in their life. But then when they decide to move on, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an independent woman. I got this on my own. I got this, that, and the other. Well, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden, that dude you with don't want you no more. Not because you're independent. It's because that's the opposite. That's too much work dealing with you and your psychosis and your neurosis and all your osises yeah, they're like, oh. Yeah, because the motherfucker that was helping you maintain has eliminated themselves from the situation. And now you're completely on your own, and you were never on your own. See, the point I'm making is that's the problem. When women are successful, well, I'm also talking about black women. I don't know white women that much. But when black women are successful, they're like, I don't need a man, or I did it without a man. When a black man's successful or a man is successful, his thing is, it's time for me to start a family. How do I provide for my family, make my wife happy, make my kids smart? And that's because that's the mentality. Like we're raised to want to be with somebody, and women are raised that you don't need somebody. So instead of women recognizing that, hey, I'm successful because this man, not in spite of the man, and a man needs to recognize, like, hey, you know what? A lot of this shit you did on your own. Now, the reason it's a problem is because of racism, sexism, and all the isms, that this society was designed to propel men and keep women down. So that's a problem. So, but men, we know this. We recognize this. We try to raise our daughters and tell them shit like, hey, watch out for this and that kind of shit. But a lot of these women, when they're successful, they can't wait to get rid of you. They can't wait to eliminate you. That's
okay. But here's the thing, though. There's a saying that women are the ones that keep culture going.
They were.
So,
yes.
And they are, and they do, because if you look at Native American culture, it's the women that maintain a lot of the old ways. And
Black culture,
in African culture, women maintain the old ways. Now, when you look at men in different cultures, men maintain the martial ways. Men maintain the ways of war, the ways of
hunting
combat,
and fighting,
the ways of knowledge, the ways of things that are related to more of a yang existence.
Conquest.
But water is yin, and water is quiet and is patient, and it slowly carves out these hard rocks, right? Women are the same way. But so these women in these successive generations have to be rid of these petty ways that should not be passed on, because they are the repository of our culture, of the overall culture, languages and things like that. So with these women, because women make the home. Women are the homemakers. Men are homemakers. We're not. No matter how hard you try to be a homemaker, women are homemakers. Women have the nesting instinct. So
I think things have got blurred now.
Hold it. So because women are the ones that make the home, and they keep languages going, and they keep the foundation of cultures going, we have to make sure that we're having dialogue with these women to clean out these outdated ways of thinking, to help enlighten them to ways that are more beneficial to the long-term existence of our culture. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think that I get it. The lines have become a little bit blurred because responsibilities are changing. I dig that. But the fact of the matter is still that this knowledge needs to be passed on. And I think I, my homegirl at work was telling me like, hey, men should give a class to a woman how to do this, that, and the other. I'm like, I don't know, man. The idea that a woman can't raise a man and all that bullshit, that is something that is in the black community, but you don't see it in the white community. You don't see it in the Asian community. And like I remember when
historically, we already know the reason why.
oh, hold it. I get that. So once you get the knowledge of this, then that excuse is eliminated. The excuses are eliminated as you get smarter, you would think, right? As we become more intelligent, excuses get eliminated. But instead of that happening, I think people cling to the wrong shit. When Dave Chappelle said the deep shit about Manny Pacquiao, he's like, look, my wife is Filipino, and in the Philippines, the women are the ones who are sent away to make money for the family, and the men stay home and take care of them. And so you have the audacity to talk to a national hero, a senator, about homosexuality, and Manny Pacquiao, I told you, that's some bullshit. Why would you put that mic in that guy's face and ask that question? There was no point in you asking him. His experience is completely different, and it's not because he's some savage or something. Because that's what y'all try to make it seem like. No, like over there, that shit is frowned upon. That shit is like, no, man.
Yeah, see, they're trying to make America's culture the world's culture.
Yes, and that right there is that is a form of conquest. That's a form of he lost his thing with Nike. I'm like, whatever, shit. Look, the point I'm making is that as we become more enlightened, some things do change. Some roles might change, but the bottom line is this: that you should not be eliminating that connection. They tell you, what do they tell you? If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for the whole you feed him forever.
If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Forever. But if you teach a woman to fish, you teach a whole village. That's because she's saying once you teach her, then she's going to teach her kid, and that kid's going to teach his kid, and that kid's going to teach her kid. Because women are the first teachers. The reason that women were teachers is because they're the first teachers anyway. That's the first nurturer. That's the first one who teaches you what you need. So it was only natural for you to, when you created the education system, is to have women there. I'm not saying a man can't teach. I'm just saying that it's more natural when the first person you see that teaches you how to wipe your face and tie your shoe and it's usually your mom. Now, I get it. There's some shitty women out there now who don't want to be moms, and it was thrust upon them and all this other shit. I get that. So, fine, if you're a dad and you like anybody can do the role, I get that. But it's more natural that a woman is a teacher because that's who you're going to see. That's breast and like nurture and how do you do this and tie your shoe and eat your vegetables, that shit. So, yeah, just because something's natural, I get it. It doesn't have to stay that way, but I'm just saying that that's how it was. Look, we talk about this sameness because we want a result. We want to be able to predict the result of certain things, and this shit don't work like that. And look, people, just stop trying to fit something because it makes you comfortable, and that's what this shit's about comfortable. Like, oh, this person's gay, they do this. This person's black, they do that. This person's white, they do this. That is to make yourself comfortable. That's not fair. It's not fair to try to put your fucking bullshit dogma on somebody. Cut that shit the fuck out. That's not spirituality. That's not pureness. That's not intelligence.
Okay. And now we come to the part of the show where we speak about the invisible hand that reaches into black culture to twist and manipulate it to their own usage. And I'm speaking about the manipulation of the media and imagery through commercials. And in these television commercials, you see a Cheerio commercials, and it's some curly hair, light-skinned black woman with a white dude and some Latino-looking baby. And you see these Subaru, black people don't drive Subarus, but you keep trying to get black people to drive Subarus. And you see these Subaru commercials with some curly hair, crowned black woman and some goofy-looking hipster white dude. And then
what about the Rock? You can't tell what race he is. That's why he's so successful.
Because he's racially ambiguous. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not dissing the nigga. I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying, like, when you put him in a movie,
yeah, but see,
black.
the Rock is a black islander. But the problem is that he always claims his island roots, but he never says anything about being black. Ever,
Oh
ever, ever, ever.
he does. No, he does. If you watch his interviews, he talks highly of his father. He says, "I'm black." He, see that was
No,
the
no,
big
no, no, no,
argument.
no, no. In interviews. But look, if you watch the Fast and Furious, he's chilling out with his island family.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like you don't see that, but you know what, man? Like, let me go easy a little bit because in GI Joe, the Retaliation, he did go back to his Chicago. He played Roadblock, who's a black dude,
Yep.
and he went back to the hood. And you know what I'm saying? He was like, and his homies from the hood, black dudes, welcome him. So let me straighten that out. But look, all that being said, I'm talking about these commercials that you see on TV that I speak on all the time, and you continue to see them to this day.
Main
Unless
one.
it's something that is geared to a black audience like McDonald's or Coca-Cola, then you see a black family, a dark-skinned black man with a dark-skinned black woman with a dark-skinned baby. That's the only time you
What's up?
see dark-skinned families on TV is if we want to sell some black people some Coca-Cola or some McDonald's. Okay.
Well, don't forget the AIDS medicine. Now you'll see
Oh, but
niggas.
see, no, 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 no. When it comes to that, then it's some gay black dudes. You know what I'm saying? That then it's okay to see black men because they're gay. But straight black men,
Man,
there is an
whew.
agenda against straight black men in print and television media
Yep.
and online media that we know that black men have regular jobs and they play sports and this and that, but they don't buy anything. No shit. Is that right? Well, how did you get the fashion that everybody's copying now? Because these black men went out and bought these regular ass clothes and wore them a certain way, and then everybody copies it. Or
Period.
or
Period.
or look at all the car manufacturers. As a man, growing from a boy into a young man into a man, I watched this happen with the evolution of car design.
So, same.
And black men, I ain't even talking about Mexicans and how they hook up their cars. I'm talking about just brothers, how they would go and buy rims and they would like style their
So
cars. And then
yes.
what these car manufacturers started doing is
Start selling
they started
20s, selling
selling
20s and 22s.
rims
Yeah.
and 20s on cars. So when I was in high
That's cultural
school,
influence.
the
That's a cultural
biggest
influence.
tire wheel size that you can get on a factory car of any type was
18.
no. It was 15s or 17s. That was the biggest wheel size. And then when everybody started putting rims on their cars, and like Master Ace made that song called "Booming in My Jeep," and like and Will Smith came out with "Summertime," Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, then you start
That's
slowly seeing
culture.
all the that's black culture, dude. And then you start seeing all these car manufacturers putting rims on
Being
their cars, putting these nice paint jobs on these cars that came from the factory just to sell them to black people. So don't tell me that black men in particular don't spend money on anything. No. The people that don't spend money on anything now is Generation Z. They don't spend money on shit. The problem with that is that this is what it is. They're not real free market capitalists. They live in their parents' basement. They practice watered down socialism, tiptoeing towards communism, and they want to comment on everything, and they want to be upset about everything because their level of existence, there is no pushback. There is
They,
hold
they,
on,
they
hold
want to
on.
voice. They
Listen,
want to voice their
listen to me.
activity.
Listen to me. They're at their level of existence. There is not a lot on the line.
At
So
all.
there is nothing in their life that is life and death. So they wage their battles, imaginary battles over morality, these
Social
things
media.
that don't matter. And so that's where they flare up their testosterone or they have their emotional estrogen battles in these arenas because they're not out there pushing the flesh, actually doing things that matter. So they're like Walt Whitman said, they're living these quiet lives of desperation.
But they don't know it. Hold it. Hey, I sent you a video earlier of George Carlin. It was a black man debating George Carlin. And I'm sorry, I was not rooting for the black man. Brother goes, ain't no conspiracy. Nobody's this. And George Carlin's like, wait a minute. So let me tell you something. So the people that rule the world, they all go to the same universities, go to the same colleges, belong to the same clubs. They don't have to have a meeting because they have the same common goal. And when you do that shit, you've eliminated choice. So we only have two political parties, and you had six oil companies. Guess what? You got three now, and pretty soon it's only going to be two. When you eliminate that, but you got 32 choices of bagels, that's to make you feel like you made a decision. I'm like, you're laughing. That shit. I'm holding back tears because I'm like, he's telling you, people don't understand. Like, you don't have to have some big meeting when we were all went to the same schools, we make the same amount of money, and we got the same influence. And we know that we can cause shit to happen. Once you realize you've been lied to, then you'll start listening to that person who told you one or two truths. But the truth is that motherfucker's a liar too. It's complicated. But like I said, I love George Carlin. And what he's trying to tell people is like, yeah, you got a choice of what car to buy, but your choice in government officials, that's some bullshit. The shit that really matters. The reason that you're not. I had this talk with my daughter the other day. She was telling me she never told me why she didn't want to vote for this senator, but I know the reason is because he's against abortion and shit like that. And she's like, "Are you gonna vote for something?" I'm like, "Nah." Well, let me explain something to you. Right now, I got a Democrat trying to arrest me over the type of gun I have. And what they do is they create laws and they call it amnesty. You can't have amnesty before you made it illegal. Like, they're making up rules. And what they do is the Democrats love to make you fear some shit that might happen. And the Republicans are dickheads and assholes too. So don't think I'm supporting them.
Hey, and Republicans are anti-marijuana. I live in a red state, and these motherfucking crackers are anti-marijuana.
Well, see, here's the crazy part. How many of them Republicans smoke weed? You know the motherfuckers smoke weed. A lot of them smoke weed. You know.
Let me tell you something. These pussy-ass Democrats are also anti-marijuana. What I'm getting at, politicians are anti-everything until it makes money for them.
Hold on. Okay, we just had this talk. If you got a drug that can actually help eliminate these cancers, next thing you know, you're curing all this shit, you ain't got no customer
no
more.
Check this out. Sameness works for a lot of people, and everybody ain't about the sameness. Everybody don't want something that reminds them of where they came from. But the point of this conversation is to make people understand that we have agendas that are working against us, and you cannot look to entertainers and these people, these politicians, to represent you and your culture and fight for that and fight for your equality. Is not going to happen. That is wasted energy. So, look, man, we put it all out there. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
I love y'all. But if the reason you with a white woman is because you hate your mother, you need to get that shit fixed. Holla back.